Alright, what's up y'all? Hope you're all doing well. Back with another anime review. Today, we're talking about a show called Misanthrope Teaches a Class for Demi-Humans. It was released early in 2026, and it was definitely a show that I watched all 12 episodes of, so I guess we're going to talk about it today. So unfortunately, I did miss last week with an upload, because I had a lot of stuff going on last week. I didn't really have time to sit down to consume a show or a season of anything. And I apologize for that, but we're back this week, and with the season of current anime going on, about to end in another week or two, that means a lot of content coming very, 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 very soon. So stay on the lookout for more content, more shorts are getting released, more videos coming out. I'm very, very, very excited for it. I apologize about missing last week, but I don't plan on missing weeks anytime soon, unless, unfortunate circumstances happen, which I don't hope doesn't happen. But yeah, we're going to be here, one full video per week. Be on the lookout for it, all right? So now let's get fully into this review. So I watched Misanthrope Teaches a Class for Demi-Humans. Why I watched this, I don't know. I guess was bored and was in the mood because I missed last week, and I was like, okay, I gotta make up for it. I gotta find a show, and I just stumbled across this, and I was like, okay, we'll give it a shot, because at first I looked at this show and I was like, okay, this could be weird because it's a teacher and a bunch of high schoolers that are not all human. This could get very weird with I don't know, it could go a certain way. And I was honestly planning on it going a certain way. And so I honestly was only expecting to watch 2 episodes and be like, okay, not for me. We move on to another one. But I actually sat there. It actually was not what I expected. I sat there for 12 episodes and watched it. And it wasn't necessarily very bad. Now, it wasn't necessarily good either. It was a show that had some things going on, things that I like, but also a lot of things I feel like could have made it a lot better too. And we're gonna get into that today. Notice also I didn't say romance anime because even though this is tagged as a romance anime, no romance really happens in this show. No real romance. There's some teasing or whatever, but there's no actual real romantic things that happen in this show. Which is the reason why I watch it, because obviously I'm the romance anime yapper guy, But yeah, so we're going to get into talking basically everything about this show today. So this review is going to be very different from the other ones because, I kind of changed my style a little bit how I do reviews, where I don't talk about every single thing that happens. I just talk about more broader subjects and then maybe some specific things here and there that I liked, but more about the broadness of the show. Today is going to be more of a review in terms of a recap. So today I'm going to talk about a lot more about the actual things that happen in the show. So gear up. This probably could be a long video. So starting off with the main plot of this show. The main plot of the show is there's a guy named Rei Hitoma who was a teacher at high school until he had a bad experience happen that unfortunately ended that teaching job. And for the past 2 years, he's been sitting at home playing video games, living with his mom. And his mom eventually keeps telling him, hey, you're a grown-ass man, go get a job somewhere. So eventually he tries to find a job and sees an ad online for a teacher needed for an all-girls high school. And at first, he was a guy that he said, I don't want to go to a job that deals with humans because of the past trauma that I experienced, before my other teaching job. I don't want to be, I don't want to deal with humans or deal with people anymore, But he keeps reading on the ad and eventually decides to apply because they said they need teachers who care for their students, which he feels like he is. So eventually he goes on the interview, does all that stuff, and eventually he ends up getting the job for this school. And once he gets there, he actually finds out that this is not any normal school. This is a school to teach demi-humans and teaches all these young ladies that are not fully human how to be fully human and fully incorporate into human society. And so he has to teach them and get them enough points to be able to graduate and fully become humans in this world. So that's what his job is. Now getting into Rei, the main character, our protagonist, he's someone that doesn't like humans. He says all the time he thinks they're selfish. He doesn't want to associate with them after some past traumatic experience. He just doesn't like humans at all. And one thing I will do have a little bit of a gripe with in this show is that every time he talks about why he doesn't like humans, he says they're selfish. He says they're selfish, they always think about themselves. He says it as two separate things, where it's that's the same thing. Selfish and only caring about yourself is the same thing. He presents it like it's two separate, different things. That was just a gripe I had because, okay, I watched the English episode for a lot lot of it because I was also doing stuff on the side as well, so I couldn't really fully lock into the show. So I had to put on the English dub so I could actually listen to what's going on because I wasn't able to get the show 100% full attention. So a lot of it comes from the English dub. So maybe the English dub is different. I don't know. Sorry, I usually watch English dub the first time, but okay. But at the end of the day, Ray is an honest person. Is like a really good, honest guy. He has his others' best interests in mind. He does everything he can to help his students. He generally is a really, really good teacher. You know, it's just unfortunate that past thing happened to him that kind of messed up his brain a little bit. But at the end of the day, he is a genuinely nice teacher and likes the opportunity because, hey, we don't have to deal with humans. We have to deal with people that want to become humans, but they're not humans. So I guess it's also a learning and teaching thing for him as well to learn maybe to like humans a little bit more and not just shut them out entirely, you know? Going into this class where he teaches the advanced classes at the school, he has 4 girls in his class for the first year of the school. For the 4 girls, the first one we have is Hanada. Hanada is a bird girl. They say specifically it's like a bull shark, not bull shark. It's some species of bird. I don't really know what it is, but bird girl basically. And she wants to become human to pursue a music career. And Hanada is very responsible. She always gets her work done. She's very friendly with others. She's a very good student. Like we never really have any problems with her. She's never a bad kid. She just kind of comes in, does what she has to do. Very cheery personality. Friends with everybody. Just really chill, cool. Wants to do her music thing. You know, like she's just really cool. Girl number 2 is Usami. Usami is a bunny girl. She wants to become human to repay the kindness that humans have showed her. And she's someone that can snap very easily. You know, she yells a lot. She has tsundere-like tendencies where she gets very snappy and will yell at you no matter what. But I also like that she's very honest and genuinely kind. You know, when kindness is given, she, you know, reciprocates it. And she's also not afraid to tell it how it is and be honest with others as well. Goal number 3 is Isaki. Isaki is a wolf girl. She wants to become human so she can permanently stay as a human and disassociate from her other wolf side. She is very quiet, shy, likes to write and read, doesn't really say what's on her mind, very like the typical shy, bookworm, nerdy girl. And girl number 4 we have is Minazuki. Minazuki is a mermaid girl. She wants to become human so she can grow legs and become a dancer. She always stays positive. She's a very positive person, very nice, kind of like that, you know, like type of student where it's like everything's great and everything's going well and we're trying to be friends with everybody, be nice to everyone and work hard, you know, and that kind of prideful, positive type of presence. These 4 girls are all friends. You know, they have some times where they yell at each other and are mad at each other and all that stuff because obviously they have different personalities. But at the end of the day, I like that they're all friends and they all kind of help each other out in a lot of different ways. So like at first you think there's going to be a show where it's like, oh, they're all going to try to fight for something and they're all going to have all these different conflicts and situations with each other. But they actually are very, very friendly and get along really well eventually. And all these girls get into situations because obviously they're trying to be human and have these obstacles they have to kind of go through. And Ray, as a teacher, is there to help them. And he actually does a really good job of helping them. Also, this show gets very, very sad. Like, this show got a lot, you know, more real than I expected. I thought this was going to be a show where it's like, I don't really have to care or think about anything, which it kind of is, to be honest. But also, you have moments where you're like, dang, that's actually really, like, sad and really real. For Minazuki, obviously she wants to become a dancer when she becomes human. But we eventually learn that she is not a good dancer at all. She doesn't have rhythm, she's bad at dancing. And Usami, again, being the personality of her being kind of say how it is, she tells her, hey, you suck, at this. And they kind of get into a little bit of a spat there. But Minazuki stays positive and keeps working, and her and Ray have a conversation, and eventually we learn that she had to basically be this way and had to become strong. Her backstory is that she's the heir to Poseidon. She's related to Poseidon, and she was supposed to be the next queen of their kingdom. But she turned that down because she wanted to become human, and obviously the people around there didn't like that about her. And so now she's putting everything she has into succeeding and becoming human and being successful, because if she doesn't become successful, she will be turned into sea foam. So literally, it's life or death here for Minazuki. And we could kind of see why she stays positive and why she kind of has to stay like this a little bit, because she doesn't, her life's gonna end. You know, why she doesn't want to be a queen and why she wants to be a human instead, I don't know. They probably said that in the show, but I don't remember fully. But yeah, very interesting decision. But hey, at least she, you know, that's what she wants. So we gotta respect her for it, right? For Isaki struggles a lot because she is a reverse werewolf. She becomes a different person during the full moon. The normal Isaki is very kind of shy, nerdy, the bookworm type girl. But then, once the full moon happens, she all of a sudden turns into the complete opposite. She's more of a gyaru. She's dresses very differently, very different personality, opens up a lot more, kind of bantering. Like, she's just an entirely different person, which really confuses us because it's like, what the hell is happening? And Ogami actually opens up to Rei a lot more. And she wants to kind of disappear a little bit because she thinks that Isaki hates her, so Isaki and Ogami, even though that's her full name, are kind of different people. So Isaki is more of the shy, nerdy one, and when I say Ogami, that's the more open, different personality one. So they just do that so that, it's easier to refer to them. But yeah, Ogami basically feels bad and kind of wants to go away because she thinks that Isaki actually hates her to death, which we turn out isn't true. We learn more about Isaki's backstory and that she is a reverse werewolf. So Isaki, the nerdy one, is the wolf actually, and Ogami is actually the human. And Isaki was always treated differently and locked up because once there's a full moon, instead of full moon turning into a wolf, the full moon turned her into a human. And so she was always treated differently and bullied, and even her parents shunned her away a little bit because, she's not the same as all the other wolves, and she always hated herself for that. And so eventually, after this happened, Isaki kind of disappeared for a while in class. She didn't show up for a while until eventually we learned late at night she tried to sneak into the classroom as Isaki, and her and Rei have a conversation, and we learn that she actually doesn't hate Ogami, or the human side of her, but she actually hates herself and wants Ogami, to be her full self. And so she actually wants to become human because she wants Ogami to be able to live and, that human side to be more of who she naturally is instead of this wolf and the shy, weird one. She doesn't really like herself a whole lot, and that actually gets really depressing because she says a lot of things like, hey, I don't really like myself. I'd rather be the human form of me, and I hate that. It gets very, very sad. And so eventually the two personalities learn to talk to each other because they both share the same thoughts and ideas, but both of them don't know the other's emotions and real true feelings. So eventually they start an exchange diary so that both of them, so when, Isaki turns into Ogami, they can write things down and kind of learn each other a lot better. And eventually the closing solution is that both of them want to become human. So when Isaki graduates, they're going to turn into two separate people. So Ogami and Isaki could do what they want to do, and Isaki can learn to really like and appreciate herself a lot more. For Usami, we actually learned that she's not technically a bunny girl. She's more of a rabbit bunny doll turned to life. So she originally was a rabbit toy that turned into gaining consciousness and sentience. And we learned that the human that owned this rabbit doll is close to dying. She's in the hospital. She's an old lady now. And so they tell her this, and Usami obviously wants to visit her because her dream was to always be able to kind of talk to her human and kind of be able to be there for her, and she wants to repay all the kindness that she showed to Usami. And so eventually she convinces Rei to break the rules because he has this ring that basically gets him into the world, this demi world, and not be a part of the human world as often or whatever. And so eventually they sneak out, and he gives Usami the ring so that she can exist in the human world in this time. And so they go to the hospital, and she finally meets her human, and it actually is really freaking sad, the conversation they have and everything going on. Like, I genuinely almost cried because I was like, bro, this is really sad right now. Like, because the human's dying and Usami's kind of finally meeting her, and it's really emotional and all that stuff. They talk, and Usami said, like, hey, in 1 year I'm gonna be a human, so now we can all converse together and all that, until Usami's human, which I don't remember her name. I think her name is Psycho. Psycho was like, that'd be cool, but I think I'm gonna die in like a month, so I don't think that's gonna be able to happen. And so Usami kind of loses hope because it's like, dang, I became a human just to be able to talk to her. Now I'm not gonna be able to, because once I become human, she's gonna be gone. And so Seiko convinces her, like, hey, but there's a lot more reasons to become human. You can help others and all that stuff. So eventually Usami decides that she'll become human to become a doctor, and help other people in need, which is very, very nice. Until eventually they get caught, and she gets points deducted towards her graduation and has to wait a little bit longer to graduate. But it was really nice of Rei to be there for her and to break the rules, but to kind of get that closure for Usami and kind of have her come true. And honestly, it kind of makes you closer and like Usami a lot more. Because at first, honestly, she's very annoying. Because she just yells all the time and is always mad at other people. And it's like, what is your problem? But then eventually, this kind of makes her a little bit more like likable and be like, oh, okay. She's actually a really genuinely kind person on the inside. You know, and now she wants to become a doctor. That's very, very sweet. Now, Hanada is actually different from the other girls, where she doesn't really have a moment of that, where it's like she breaks through a bubble. And at first, Rei actually gets really weird because Hanada doesn't have anything in the school records. Everything about Hanada is kind of blank. He doesn't know anything about her. So it's like, well, what is she, really? You know, all we know is that she's a bird girl and that she's a good student, but that's kind of it. And she's kind of, I guess, chill or whatever. She gets sick one day per year on the same day every year, and Rei figures this out, and then that leads to her and Rei having a little bit more of conversations and getting to know each other a little bit more. And eventually we learn about Rei's past trauma and why he stopped teaching. It's because back in his old high school when he teach, he tried to mediate a fight between two girls. And eventually he got so involved that he eventually got accused of hitting one of the students and got fired, you know, and got all the blame for it. Like wrongingly. And so that kind of made him hate humans a lot more, ended his teaching career, and really traumatized him until Hanada kind of helps him, being like, hey, like convincing him, but you're a different person than that. You know, you're here now. We all are grateful for you. Like you're different from that. You can recover from that. And it really helps Rei a lot. Eventually she like takes him flying and loses points because you showed unhuman-like behavior. And so she lost a couple points there, but for a good reason, again. And now for the school to be able to graduate, you have to complete a final assignment. At the end of the year, each of the girls in the school get a final assignment that kind of is like a little thing of like a final exam, basically, to kind of show what you've learned, you know, and do an activity or something that can help you grow in a certain way that you need to grow. And this happens in like episode 5 or 6 or whatever. And I was kind of like, dang, already? Like we get one situation with all these girls and all of a sudden final assignment. Not knowing what rest is to come with this show. And I was like, okay, we're kind of going like that. You know, and all these girls get their final assignments to do their thing. But the real, I guess, thing about the final assignments and the real plot point is about Minazuki, the mermaid girl. Her final assignment is to find one of the director's gems. And she has to get through all these certain puzzles and everything to figure out where the director's gem is. And she struggles a lot compared to the other girls. Like, the other girls are finished and doing their thing, yet she hasn't really made much progress. But she doesn't want to say anything because she always says, "I appreciate." Like they offer, like, "Hey, we can help you with all this stuff," but she says, "No, I'm good. I got to do this on my own because I'm gonna be the one being human, and I want to be the one. I gotta solve this on myself." You know. And so eventually, Isaki turns into Ogami, and Ogami comes out and. Her and Minazuki gets talking, and it gets her to spill about what's wrong and some of the puzzles that she needs help with. To eventually, she finally asks for help of the other classmates and Rei, and they eventually lead into her finding the gem, which leads to her being the one to graduate this year. Because every year, I guess only one student graduates for whatever reason, and the principal chooses Minazuki to be the one to graduate because she got enough points to be able to do that. And I guess her final step was to learn to accept the help of others. You know, because I guess she's always strong and she says she needs to do this on her own and stays positive, but she learns kind of like, okay, I need to ask for help sometimes. We can't all do this on our own. That she becomes the one to graduate. And that's it for Minazuki. She's gone. For the rest of the show, we don't see a trace of her. We don't even get really a graduation scene from her or even an update on where she's gone. She's just, that's it. You graduated? All right. See ya. You know, bye. Which was very kind of like, damn, okay. Like, that's just where it ends. We're just gone with her. That's interesting. I guess we don't even get like an update about what happened. She's going to a dancing school. Like, did she do that? No, she's just gone. You forget about her. Bye. And after this, we actually get a big reveal. And we learn, so Hanada, well, we know, like, she has no school records. There was no really thing about her, like, having problems or anything like that. And she's kind of a big mystery. I'm like, okay, she's cool, whatever, but, like, what's up with her? Like, why is she feel like getting treated so much differently, and why is her story so different and just like hush hush than all the other 3 girls? We had such deep kind of talks about them and went into their backstory and kind of went into their mind of what they're feeling. But for Hanada, nah, it just kind of exists here. What is it? And so we learn eventually that Hanada is actually the director of the school and is actually a phoenix. She's not even really a high schooler. She just pretends to be in this class. And her actual form is very, very, very nice. And so yeah, Hanada is not really a high school girl in this class. She actually is like the director of the school that just puts herself in this form in this class. We also know the principal is a Crow Tengu, who's like, it's something, I looked it up, it's something with like Japanese history where they like shapeshift and do all these other things. And he tells Rei that he saw the future and he knew Rei would be good here. So that's why he invited him here, and that's why, you know, he hired him for the job, and that's why they're telling him now that Hanada is actually director of the school. And we know when Hanada actually made this school to, at first, just watch demi-humans and for them to have a place to go, but eventually now she has the goal of becoming human too, because as a phoenix, she's going to basically be alive forever. So eventually she wants to have, you know, something to look forward to for herself, I guess. And so now her goal is to become human, so she wants to graduate, which is why she put herself in this form and put herself in Rei's class in this school. And things make a lot more sense now as to why we don't know anything about Hanada, because she's not a liar, but basically like she's the director of the school, you know, which makes things very, very interesting and different. So now we're on to year 2, the new school year, and we get 3 new classmates. So we already have Hanada, Usami, and Isaki still around this in the advanced class, and now we get 3 new classmates to add in to this year. The first one we get is Karen, or however you pronounce it. She is a dragon girl, and she wants to become human to fall in love and experience romance. She's very bold and honest, and she takes a liking to Rei really early on, confessing her love to him many, many, many times. Next we have Nezu, who's a mouse girl. She wants to become human to eat a lot of food. That's it. She just wants to eat a lot because she's a mouse and she likes food. Food is really the only thing interesting about her in the show. The only thing they really give her in the show. She can get kind of loud or annoying sometimes. She feels like a little kid. Like she feels like a little kid in this scenario because she's just like all about food and very, I don't know. She gets the vibe of just like little kid energy, you know, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just that's the only thing they give her in this show. She's not really a big part of the show, to be honest. And then we have Kurosawa. Kurosawa is a cat girl. And she actually has a secret reason for becoming human. She doesn't say what her reason is for becoming human. She just wants to become human. She's very, very quiet. She falls asleep a lot in class, but still gets a job done. And we learn she's a good drawer. Only uses black as the color. She only dresses in black. Obviously, she's a cat girl. She's very kind of closed off, and we don't really know much about her. She's kind of the quiet kid in the back of the class that no one really recognizes, you know? Going to the new situations from these girls, for Karen, she falls for Rei and wants to become his wife. She falls in love with him, declares his love for him multiple times, wants to, you know, be his wife or whatever, and obviously he's refusing because, refuses. And also, this is something I meant to say earlier, like, they tease a lot, at least, again, the English dub, I don't know if the Japanese sub is different, I don't know if it is, maybe, I don't know. They play a lot around with the idea of him falling for one of these girls, which it never actually happens. They never go full tint off of that, and eventually at some point it kind of dies down a little bit with the main 4 girls. Like, definitely is weird, you know, but I guess that's just anime thing that just happens, so you gotta accept it. But at first I definitely was like, okay, let's not joke about him being with little girls, please. Let's not do that, but I understand it's a thing that happens, so you kind of have to accept it. And I mean, I watched all 12 episodes, so I signed myself up for it. You know what I mean? And so eventually, one day, Rei pulls her aside at the end of class and has a full-on conversation to her to tell her to stop acting a certain way in public, because there's a day where they walked to the school and she was like grabbing and hugging him, and he kind of was like, hey, stop that. For one, don't do that in public because I'm gonna look like a weirdo. And also, 2, we can't be together at all because obvious reasons, right? And then we go into Karen's backstory. We learn that she was a full-on dragon, and she met a princess one day that was super kind to her, and they really had a bond together until that princess eventually ended up marrying a prince far away. He took her away, and she never saw her again. And kind of got jealous and wanted to learn what love really is like and what this romance thing is about. So that's why she wants to become human to be in love, because it's like, that princess got taken away from me because of love. It must be so great, right? So what is this about? Let me find out. And why she likes Rei is that she actually was there for the moment when she saw what Rei did for Usumi. When Rei took Usumi back to the hospital, to see her and all the things he did and breaking the rules for her, and decided, like, man, he's such a great guy. That's the one I want. And Rei obviously rejects her. She gets broken up by the rejection, thinking I'll be lonely now because he doesn't love me. Who is ever going to love me or whatever? But Rei tells her, hey, you won't be alone in this class. I'll always be there for you or whatever. But obviously we can't be together. And then eventually she goes back to loving him. And for the rest of the show, she's really only there to be just kind of like, hey, I love you, Rei. That's really everything she does in this show. And it definitely does get kind of, I guess, like numb at one point because it's just that's the only thing they do with her character. Kurosawa also gets a very interesting story. So we meet a girl named Alice, who's a witch. She's very close with Hanada and the principal of the school. And Alice is the owner of Kurosawa as, crazy cat lady witch. You understand that? And Alice wants Kurosawa to become human as soon as possible because Kurosawa has magic and it's been growing and growing and growing. And that magic could turn her into a Nikomata, which is basically a demonic black cat. So basically going to turn into a demon because she has so much magic. And so they want her to become human to get all that magic away from her and that she can live her own life and they don't have to worry about that. And Rei kind of puts things together after having a conversation with Kurosawa and everything like that. And he thinks that maybe Kurosawa only wants to become human because Alice told her to and understand that situation. And so they have a little bit of an introspective conversation where Kurosawa talks about, why black is a color. I always use black as a color. Why do I need other colors and everything like that? That was like obviously deeper than actual colors, but she's very closed off and kind of very, edgy. So, we never know that. And so eventually one night they catch her trying to sneak away from the dorm and she gets in trouble. And she tells everyone that she did that on purpose because she wanted to get basically expelled from the school naturally. And she opens up saying that she actually doesn't really want to be a human. But her only options are either become human or become a demon with this magic. So eventually her choice at the end of the day is she wants Alice to kill her so she doesn't have to suffer from any of this. Say, I don't want to be human, but also don't want to be a demonic person, so just kill me and end this. I don't need any of this right now. And of course Alice doesn't want to because Alice is like, you're my cat. I'm not going to kill you for whatever reason. And so eventually they come to a little bit of a compromise where Hanada suggests she'll look after Kurosawa for 3 years, which will give Alice enough time to create a container for Kurosawa's magic so that they can figure out a way for her to live and her not to become this demonic person. So eventually Kurosawa turns into her cat form and lives in the old shrine. So they have an old shrine close by that used to be where the school was. And so they're going to keep Kurosawa there, until Alice gets enough time to make the container. And that's the end of Kurosawa. She's gone. She's not in the class anymore. She's not enrolled in the school anymore. She's just a cat that lives in the old shrine now until we figure something out. So we get Kurosawa for maybe 2 episodes, and then she's just gone. So, yeah. And I thought this was going to be the girl that's going to have all the things going on. How it kind of was like Isaki had that big moment, in, the first half of the show where it was like, she had a bunch of episodes of her kind of figuring out where she was going and eventually a solution. For Kurosawa, no. We get an episode and it's kind of like, okay, now she's gone, bye, and whatever. And we also don't get anything for Nezu either. She never has a situation or anything at all. She's kind of there and exists only for Usumi to yell at her. I guess that's all. Nezu doesn't get any one of these. And now we go into final assignments. We don't get anything new about, Isaki or Usumi or Hanada. It's just like, nope, okay, now. Okay, Karen, okay, this is her. Kurosawa, okay, here's her, she's gone. Now, final assignments, boom. So we're moving pretty fast right now. So for the final assignments, all of them do their thing, and the real, plot of the final assignments is Isaki. Isaki had to review and write about 10 books, and she does it, and she graduates. So Isaki finally graduated, woo. And the class eventually comes together to hold a party both for her and Ogumi, because again, when she graduates, her and Ogumi are going to become 2 separate people, and so they thought it was weird, or it's not right that she's only going to get 1 graduation party when it's 2 people. So they give both of them their own graduation party, which is really cool. We see the actual graduation ceremony for Isaki, and then boom, she's gone. Bye. Don't see her anymore. Don't know an update. Don't know what's happening to her. Hopefully her and Ogumi are doing well. But peace. Bye. See ya. During the time between the summertime, between the school years, Usumi wants Rei to deliver a letter to Seiko's grave because unfortunately she passed away, and Usumi's final assignment for that year was to write handwritten letter to everybody in the class, and she also wrote one for Seiko, so she wants Rei to go deliver it, to where he actually does, and on the way he actually ends up meeting the daughter of Seiko, and they have a conversation, and Seiko's daughter says like, yeah, I've been trying to find the rabbit, that she had for so long, but I can't find it anywhere or whatever. So eventually, Rei says, oh, the rabbit is with this little girl that was really close to your grandmother, and she has it right now. She's taking good care of it or whatever, and all that stuff. And so eventually, Seiko's daughter gives Rei her number to say, hey, give this to that girl, and everything she ever wants, she ever needs, ever has a problem, tell me, and we'll have a conversation about it. And so he tells Usumi this and says, when you graduate, I promise I'm going to give you her number, and you can do whatever you want with it, And also before the new year, last thing that happens is that Rei is getting an assistant for his class, a new assistant teacher, and ends up being a girl named Mirai Haruna, where he recognizes very, very well. And then we get into the last, couple episodes of this show. Diving into Haruna, who becomes a very, very, very big part of this story. So Haruna was actually an old student of Rei's back when he teached at his old job. And they kind of got close. They would see each other in the office sometimes and have conversations. She was his student, obviously, so they knew each other. And Rei hinted at and saw some things of Haruna maybe getting taken advantage of by popular girls in the school, where some popular girls in the school were kind of, telling her, hey, can you fill in this assignment for me? Can you do this that I have to do? Can you do me a favor and do all this? And Hana was doing all of them because I guess she wanted to be a part of the clique or whatever. And Rei was kind of being like, hey, like, you shouldn't be doing favors like that too often, that could come back to bite you or whatever. And then eventually it turned into her getting bullied by these girls. And so she started to sit in class and stay in Rei's office, and eventually he kept trying to get her to open up. So eventually one day she finally did open up and talked about everything that was going on with her and the other girls and her getting bullied by these girls. And so Rei tells the higher ups and principals and all that stuff, but the principals don't do anything or tell him not to do that, because the girls that are bullying her are actually, their parents are big donators to the school, so we get some of that, politics involved, where, we can't have this girl get in trouble, these girls get in trouble, because their parents might stop donating to us and we might stop getting our money. So they tell Rei, hey, I don't know if you should do this, or you should tell people this, because, it's not going to be good for you maybe, and, we can't have these people going up. And he's like, I don't freaking care. This girl's getting bullied, like, doing the right thing. And so eventually this goes into a full spiral where eventually Rei ends up getting framed as the person that was bullying and injuring Haruna. And she was also kind of forced to turn the story onto him because they testified against and basically painted Rei and Haruna as the bad people in the situation. And the girl and the bullies kind of were just like, yeah, whatever. And eventually ended up getting fired. And I think Haruna got expelled from the school because they thought that Haruna was bullying the other girls. And so before he got fired, Haruna and Rei met up one more time and had a little bit of a conversation. And Haruna scolded Rei and told Rei that he ruined her life and he shouldn't have come to help her because now we're in this mess. He said, you shouldn't have got into my life. You shouldn't have tried to pry into it. You should have just stayed outside. I should have never came to you and all that stuff. And really messing with Rei's head. And Rei took it on himself, being like, yeah, I'm the one that messed up. Like, it was all my fault, and taking the blame, even though he did the exact right thing. But it's everybody else's fault because politic reasons, And now she's going to become his assistant teacher after all these years later. And so the first day, she actually acts normal. Just normal, whatever. Everything's cool. Everything's cheery. And eventually, before their first class, he apologizes, like, hey, I'm sorry about all that happened. And she kind of brushed it off, being like, no, I mean, it was the past. It's cool, whatever. Now, we should move on to what's going on now. We got to help these students, But yeah, don't worry about the past, everything like that. Which obviously you knew was a complete just BS. We know she's not over it. You can definitely tell, like, no way they just had a full half an episode of explaining everything that happened and going through that flashback just for it to be resolved in 2 sentences, being like, nah, it's all good, in the past, let's go. Like, obviously not. For the new school year, we get 2 new girls. So we have Usumi still, we got Karen still, we got Nezu still, we got Hanada still, we got 2 more girls. We got Wakaba, who is an elf princess girl. She wants to become human to be a model. That's it. She doesn't really get him, like, she just kind of exists. like kind of gets the Nezu treatment a little bit, even less. We see her maybe like 4 times. At least I can remember maybe 4 times throughout the show. She might have 4 lines in the show, and that's kind of it. She's just kind of around because they introduced these characters in the last 3 episodes. So yeah, Wakaba, cool. She looks really nice. Cool, great for her. Whatever. We got another girl named Okonogi. Okonogi is an Oni descent girl, and she wants to become human to stop lying. She wants to become human to stop lying. She is very odd. She lies a lot. Every sentence that she does, she lies. For no reason. Because her only power is, I guess, force her to lie about everything. Like, you'll say, like, literally, it was like, hey, what'd you get on this test? I got 100. Nah, psych, I got a 0.
Nah, psych, I got a 70.
She's very odd, and definitely, she becomes the girl we're definitely gonna be like, okay, there's problems with her. We gotta, like, she's gonna be the one that's probably gonna be taking the main plot of everything for the rest of the last 2 or 3 episodes of the show. Now we figure out Okonogi's situation. Because her and Rei have a little bit of a heart-to-heart, and basically, we learn that she can tell when other people are lying. She has this sense of telling when people lie. And so she was sent to the school because back in her old hometown, she got in trouble for telling truths about important people, back to the politics thing. And she put herself and her mom in danger. So she was forced to leave and have to go to the school. And now she wants to become human so she doesn't see other people's lies and she can live peacefully with her mother back home. Very wholesome reason. But yeah. So she says she can basically tell when people talk, they have a certain color to the words they say and everything. And blue is truth, red is lie, and purple is like a half and half truth. And she says that Rei, most of the time, is blue. He's a very honest guy. That's why she kind of has a liking to Rei, because it's like, yeah. And also, her mother, when talking about trying to protect her, turned red. And that really scared her. And that's a reason why she wants to become human, so that she can live with her mother. And their mother doesn't have to lie about the things that, you know, Okonogi says. But when Haruna comes through and is there, she sees Hana, and her and Hana kind of get close a little bit. She like tries to hug her. She hugs Haruna and tells her like, hey, when you talk to Rei, you always turn red. Why is that? And kind of leaves it at that. Kind of just throws that out there like, hey, yeah, when you talk to him, your things become red, so you're lying. What's going on with that? And yeah. And for me, Okonogi was a little bit of like a mind freak to me, because I'm like, is she lying or not? Because again, she kind of forces lies out all the time. She can also see lies. Her story kind of is very similar to both Haruna and to Rei. You know, in certain ways, she represents a little bit of both of them. She's also getting in the middle of their situation now. And so I was like, what is happening here? Like, what is she going to be? You know, what is going on? And that was the second to last episode. So we go into the last episode thinking, okay, now we're going to finally see what Okonogi's going to do, right? Well, final episode, final assignments already. We just met these girls, but hey, we're going back to final assignments. Don't get anything about Usami or Hanada or anything. Nope. Final assignments now, boys. And the only thing that happens in the final assignments is Usami. Her final assignment is she has to trade items and keep trading up until she gets an item that she thinks the principal would want. And if she gets something that the principal would want, she would pass. And she ends up trading up, and gets a crystal from Karen. And one day she gets in the middle of a fight with 2 other younger classmen, because those 2, their final assignments is they have to do a good deed. And one of the girls is talking to the other girl because one of the girls is tricking people into solving problems that she caused. So basically, like, taking away something from him, be like, hey, do you need this? Here, give you, though. And the other girl saying, that's not a good deed, that's just you causing problems for no reason and trying to look cool. And they get into a little bit of argument. Usami tries to be a little bit like the mediator between both of them. So eventually, one of the girls, they run away, but then she ends up falling down the stairs. And Usami tries to save her. She grabs her, and then the crystal actually activates by itself, and it helps, you know, the girl not get hurt. And once the crystal gets used, it vanishes. And now Usami has nothing. No item at all. And this girl is really, really sorry. And it's like, dang, Usami might not be able to pass her final exam because she doesn't have an item at all. But then after that happens, the principal comes in and announces that the new graduate is going to be Usami. And she's very confused because she's like, I don't even have an item. I didn't turn anything in. I don't have anything. What are you talking about? But then we learn that the girl whose name we learn is Tsukino, she actually wrote a letter to the principal to ask for Usami to have her final assignment basically annulled because of what she did and how she saved her and her mistake and how kind she was. She basically told the principal, please don't fail her. It was all my fault. She did something so great and whatever. And so that basically put Usami over the top and showing her, her compassion and kindness and whatever to other people and repaying kindness was just something that she wants to do to become human. That was her main reason. And so that leads her to graduating, which also leads to Rei giving her the number of Seiko's daughter and being like, hey, go do your thing. And also, we don't get a graduation for Usami. We don't get a graduation scene. We don't get an update at all because why would we? And yeah, she just lives now. We do have a little bit of a final thing where her and Rei kind of have a good conversation. And Usami says, hey, thank you for everything and whatever. And, Rei opens up about his regrets and everything, being like, I don't regret any of the bad things I did. I don't regret any of the good things I did. So you get a little bit of like a closure moment there, but no graduation thing and no, it's just kind of like, yeah, all right, she's gone. Bye. See ya. And now the final scene of this show is Rei and Haruna finally having the conversation about, hey, we got to clear this up because obviously we do. And it actually stems from, Usami giving Rei her final kind of like, hey, thank you for everything thing. And Haruna says she wished she never met Rei so that she wouldn't have ruined his life. And Rei kind of gets relieved because it's like, dang, I thought that, you thought that I ruined your life and I thought you blamed me for everything. So I was taking that on myself. But Haruna says, no, like I felt that way because she told the principal a lot of the, like back when Rei got fired, she actually was the one that spread a lot of lies and told the principal even things that weren't even true to get Rei fired so that he would hate her even more. And basically to kind of like split any of the connection the two had so that she wouldn't feel guilty about everything that she did. So like she would feel a lot less guilty because like, okay, well, he hates me too. So we have he hates me. So that means I can kind of live freely with everything that happened because he doesn't like me. He doesn't have any feeling of regret. So cool, whatever. And she thought that would work, but obviously it did. She still carries the weight of that to this day. And Rei forgives her. And Haruna decides, you know what? My goal now is to become a teacher like you someday. And that's kind of the thing. And I don't know. It was a weird scene because obviously, you think at the end of the day, they're gonna make up, which they did. But also it just felt lacking a little bit because very convoluted thing of like her doing that so that he would hate her so that she didn't feel guilty. It was very like a roundabout way of that. And, like she kind of took the blame for everything. Yes. But also it felt it felt kind of like weird and rushed and kind of like, like I felt like not everything really got cleared up, and also why she did, like, I don't know. It just felt like it was incomplete. It felt like there was still like 3 more minutes of like something that needed to be there to kind of close everything up. But that's what we get, I guess. And then the final scene is so Rei's contract is up. It's been 3 years. His contract's up, and Hana and the principal are meeting with him to be like, hey, okay, so what's next? You want to stay? What is it? And he's like, yeah, I want to stay. And they ask every year, like, do you still hate humans? Because, again, the end of the goal, like, they ask him at the end of the year, how do you feel about humans? And he says, no, I still hate them, but I'm learning to tolerate them and certain little things about them that are special and that has me intrigued about what they want to do, And now he says his new goal is to help Hanada graduate, because obviously she's the only one from the main core 4 still left to graduate. And so now his goal is to help you finally become human. And Hanada says, yeah, I want to learn anything about being a human from you. And, maybe I will graduate someday and go human and whatever. And that's the end of the show. Overall, this show, I don't know where, I still honestly don't know how to feel about it. Because I watched all 12 episodes, so that has to be something, Like, usually, if I don't like a show, I only watch 3 or 4, and then I'm kind of like, okay, this isn't really my thing. And I made a whole video about it, too. I didn't just make it a little bit of a short. So, obviously, I had some sort of feeling about this show. And I thought it was better. It definitely was better than what I was expecting. My expectations were very low, and it exceeded that. I like the girls. I think Rei's a good person. I think there was a lot of deep, interesting things. There's a lot deeper a little bit than, what I expected. But also, on the other hand, I felt like the one thing about the show is that I felt like everything was so kind of like boom, 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 boom. Like, all right, we finally meet the 4 girls. We finally get a little bit into what their backstory is. Then boom, final assignments. One of them is gone. And we don't hear anything about them again. It's like, oh, okay. Now we bring in 3 more girls. one of them gone. The other one is just kind of in the background or whatever. And then all of a sudden, final assignments, 2 episodes in, boom, one of them graduate, the main core, gone. Don't hear from him again. Then all of a sudden, Haruna comes in, which really messes everything up because her story obviously is really sad, and her and Rei have this little thing that happens, and we don't really get too much of that until when the first episode they introduce Haruna, and then the last episode. That's the only time we get the him and Haruna thing going on. We had 2 new girls added in. That one of them doesn't get, she's just in the background or whatever. The other one, we think Okonagi is going to be the main plot of the first 2, but she only really gets episode 12, and then that's it. We don't get anything about her from episode 13 besides the final assignment, which her final assignment is what, write 100 truths down, and that's really it. We don't get any ending to Okonagi, even though she was kind of hyped up a little bit and perceived as, okay, she's going to be a big part, because her character is actually really interesting, and actually was really interested to see okay, how is this gonna work with her? And that's it. She gets 1 episode of being interesting, and we finally figure out what she's about at the end of episode 12, and that's just kind of it. And even the final big scene of waiting for Haruna and Rei to kind of have the conversation just felt so super kind of just okay, we did it, boom, now it's done. It felt like everything is the same. It was okay, here it is, all right, boom, now done. Okay, next. All right, next. All right, next. It kind of felt like everything took 1 or 2 episodes instead of it taking the proper time. I felt like everything just kind of got so rushed, and everything got kind of so we're moving. We really went through 3 years in 12 episodes. Every year Dana got 4 episodes, and then that's it. And even then, the last year, that last ending scene where Hana came in, that was 4 episodes. The first phase took 5. So we didn't really get but once it got to the second phase of episode 7 or whatever, we didn't get anything in the middle. We got, okay, here's the introduction to the girls, here's the final assignment. Here's the introduction to girls, final assignment. It's we don't get any middle part in between where it's we're building out these characters, and we're going to backstory about everything and all that stuff. We get that a little bit, but it's only for 1 episode, and then it's okay, final assignment, on to the next girls. It's dang, and then even the best parts about the show were the first phase. Because we got to learn more about Isaki and Ogami and those 2 and the depression there, and find herself and everything. We learned about Usumi and her backstory and her wanting to be human for Psycho and everything, that emotional ride. We learned about, we learned about the girls. And then when it gets to the second phase, it's okay, Connie or Canon, alright, she has a crush on Rei. Kurosada, she's very interesting, but she's only around for 1 episode, and then she turns back into a cat. Gone. Nezu is in the background. She doesn't have any, we don't even know what her backstory or anything. Wakaba literally is, the last 3 episodes they introduced Wakaba, the only thing she gets is the first time we introduce her, where she's modeling for some other, other kids. And that's it. That's all we know about her. She wants to be a model. I don't know anything about her. I didn't even know she was a princess until I looked up the characters in the show, and it said Elf Princess, and I was wait, she's a princess? I didn't know. They didn't anything. And then the most interesting character, Okonagi, only gets 1 episode and a half to really be interesting, and then it's okay, that's all you really need from her, whatever. So it's it just felt so incomplete. I felt like this show, if this is a 24 episode show, I think it's really good, because we get dive into the characters, everything kind of connects a little bit more, we get a little more time to kind of marinate with some of them, and maybe has some of these endings to these characters a little bit more kind of sad and heartfelt, and we really get connected a lot more to these characters and everything like that. But no, it's only a 12 episode show, and I feel like they stuck so much content. They try to get everything done in 12 episodes, and it just felt like everything was kind of just going. And it's kind of hey guys, we can slow down, we can make a season 2. They could have cut, honestly, the Harada thing felt more that could be a season 2 thing. We could have stopped after, Isaki graduated, and that end, and then we come into season 2 with okay, now Harada's coming, and now we're getting into the past of Rei. The first episode is going to be about the girls. The second season is going to be about Rei finding himself and Rei getting closure and all that stuff, kind of what the girls did. And I liked that, but I just felt it felt so kind of just go. And it felt like we never really got to sit well with them, yeah, overall, it's a decent show. I think if you like a show where you can just sit back and kind of just watch it. Like, you don't really have to think too much, to be honest, until it gets to the last couple episodes. If you want just a feel okay, whatever show about monster girls or whatever and different situations, I think it's good. Like, I don't think it's a bad show in any means. I wouldn't call this show bad. I mean, obviously I enjoyed it. I watched the whole thing, but I just feel like it could be. If it just felt like it feels a little like, dang, this could be so much more than this. That's just what it feels like to me. Maybe, I mean, if we get a season 2, hopefully it's better. I don't know if we're getting season 2 or not. I didn't look it up, but I just feel like this show could have been a little bit better. It could have been a lot better. Like, right now, it's kind of like a cool 5, where it could have been like an 8 if they would have just paced things a little bit better and gave us a little more context to certain things and kind of close things out a little bit. Because the closing out too, like, once the year's done, it's done. Boom, gone. We don't even get updates about anything. It's just like, all right, that's it. Bye. Like, damn, you know. But yeah, overall, I'll give it 1 medium thumb. I think it was a solid show. It's not a horrible show, but it could have been a lot better than what it actually was. All right. Yeah, that's all I got for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, you know, we're trying to keep the 1 full video per week going thing. A lot more content coming soon with the new anime season of Romance, you know, coming to an end. So I got a lot of things prepared. I'm very, very excited to watch these shows and get my fix going. You know, if you did like the video, hit the like button. I'd appreciate it a whole lot. Leave a comment down below if you've gotten to this point. I know this is going to be a very, very long video. I apologize for it, but if you're around at this point, comment something or comment anything you want. You know, it just helps out the algorithm, so liking and commenting would be really cool. And if you do like the content, hit subscribe. You know, if you want to keep up with romance anime, like hear me talk about romance anime, or just want to support the channel, I'd really, really do appreciate it a whole lot. Go check out my main channel, Everyday Hoops, linked in the description below. Literally the exact opposite of what we do around here. We have basketball over there. You know, we've gone off with the finals and everything going on. So if you like basketball, know someone likes basketball, let them know about the channel down below. I'll see you guys later. Peace.